Well, hey, everyone. It's been a while.
Been a minute.
A long minute. Last time we talked, we were waiting for little baby Selah to come, and surprise, she's here.
She's here.
Hopefully it's not surprise. I mean, it's been a month since she's been born.
Yeah, it's been over a month. I can't believe it's been so long, actually.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do a podcast, but it feels like life has just pretty much gone away from us. Actually, that's not... 2 weeks ago, I felt like we were kind of getting back in the groove, and then life threw us another curveball, and then we've just kind of been playing it day by day, just making sure that we're checking in on one another, but also just taking care of our family right now.
Yeah, it's been one of those moments or a couple weeks that have been like, okay, I'm just not making any plans because I don't know what we're doing. We're just going to do the day.
Yeah, every time we make a plan, even just for the day, it just goes to a basket.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you guys might hear some groaning. It's not Willow. Her stomach isn't,
It's not that upset. No.
Not that upset. No. So little baby Selah is over there right now, which, by the way, if you're listening to us right now, we have a number of people that listen to us, but some of the people actually watch on YouTube. We're not doing video right now just because Willow is nursing the child, which I don't know, probably wouldn't be. I mean, in culture today, most people wouldn't care, but then there's a ton of people that would be like, "What in the world is going on over there with those cooks?"
Yeah, we don't need to record it.
We don't really. All the sickos out there. But we wanted to get on, and we wanted to just record an update, kind of what's been going on in our lives, what we've been learning, and just kind of the challenges that we've been facing. So Selah was born mid-December last year, 2024. And how was the birthing experience for you?
So the birthing experience,
it was horrible. Why would you ask that? Right?
No, that was actually perfect. It was pretty much an answer to prayer, just with pregnancy being really hard and praying for like just a smooth, easy, fast birth.
I mean, you had so much anxiety around this birth, didn't you?
Yeah, because there were so many complications within the pregnancy that I was so fearful of. Like, okay, is there something that's going to happen?
Something is going to happen.
It was like just prayer after prayer. Please just be a fast, easy delivery because I can't do anything else. I can't handle anything else.
Was it fast enough for you?
And it was very fast, and it was the best delivery out of all 4 kids.
10 minutes of active pushing.
Well, I hate that you say 10 minutes.
It was 10 minutes.
I know, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm having a contraction, and then 10 minutes later she was here. So it was longer than that.
No, but it was 10 minutes from when your water broke.
But fast isn't even always good.
Your water broke, and then 10 minutes later you had a baby, which, we've always had to have your water manually broken, which, just could you imagine, like, if your water wasn't that strong and, like that was the anxiety, because she was born on a Sunday. And Saturday evening, we went to church.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in the back row, and you were having a ton of contractions.
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, this is not happening over here.
Because, we were talking about baby normally, for me, has come, like, pretty quickly after my water break. So I was like, my water cannot break at church.
It's been like one of her greatest fears is being out in public and her water breaking.
Yeah. Because...
So you can never relate with any other woman who's had their water break somewhere randomly.
I know.
I don't know.
I can't even imagine.
But she was born, everything, she looked great. There was no issues really. There's one little small thing where she was having issues swallowing a little bit. So she'd have a little bit of spit up, and rather than trying to swallow, she continued to try and push it out, and then she would choke on it. And so she had one of those episodes while we're at the hospital, and they were like, we're not too worried about that. So we ended up coming home, and then, the kids, one of the kids was really excited to see her, and then the other 2 were not.
Yes, they were not. They had the look of, what is that?
Yeah. And so there's kind of this thing when you add a new dynamic, a new person into the family, things kind of, yeah, you can hear her moaning. But there's this new dynamic of when you add a new child in that you kind of are putting the pieces back together, trying to figure out how family works. And I don't know, it's interesting. How do you feel like the dynamics have been, adding a 4th child into the mix? Although she's not necessarily playing with the other kids, but it is one more child to kind of be taken care of, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a challenge dynamic wise, because I think just because she's needed a lot of attention. And so trying to figure out how to give the other kids attention, but also caring for her because she's so little. And then being able to interact with you. And then just making sure all the attention's not going to her. I mean, she definitely needs more attention, but, making sure the others are feeling loved in their ways that they need it too.
Yeah. And even over the years, I think that's something really good to do with your kids is to continually encourage them to speak when they need something. With all of our kids, like, when your kid just needs some love.
Yeah.
And so, like, asking our kids, like, what do you need? In fact, it was just the other day, Azariah came up to me and he said, Dad, I just need love. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want? And he's like, I just want a hug.
Yeah, he'll ask for a hug.
He'll ask for a hug. And even Rylan today said that she just wanted to have some love. And so she's like, I just want some snuggles on the couch and I want to just lay next to you, Dad. So like, okay, that's fine. And so able to meet those needs. But, when we were saying that Selah has needed a little bit more than the other kids. So we had our first thing. I don't even remember how long ago it was. Everything's kind of a blur, but we ended up, she started choking and stopped breathing. And then we ended up getting her to cough and some stuff came out and she was still having a little bit of difficulty breathing. So we decided to take her to the hospital. So we drove to the ER with her. Luckily, the kids were down at Grandma and Grandpa's. It was actually during a time where we were doing our annual planning. So once a year, we take some time away from pretty much the kids and we just focus on what our goals are for the year. And so it was during that time that happened. So we ended up spending, 2 days? 2 days at the ER?
Yep.
And so they were doing tests and monitoring to figure out what was going on. Spoiler alert, didn't really find out anything. They were like, oh yeah, she's perfectly healthy. And nothing came up on scans. And so essentially it was kind of disappointing because we wanted to find out what was going on. Because, I don't know, there's anxiety that happens when something happens to your kid and you're just wanting answers. But, unfortunately, it's difficult to say. In fact, I find that with a lot of prenatal care or natal care. Is it natal care? No, what would it be? Postnatal care?
Perinatal? Yeah, postnatal.
Perinatal care?
Perinatal, I think, is like amongst, and then pre and post.
So postnatal care. So essentially after birth. I don't know, like caring for kids, I feel like every kid is different and it's hard. There's not like one specific way to do everything, even though everyone says like, this is the way, right?
Yeah.
So we were going through that and that was kind of a difficult challenge for us of just trying to figure out how to navigate that. And it was probably about, what was it, a week later?
Yeah, like 10 days.
It was like 10 days. Yeah, it was 10 days. 10 days later, we were, it was in the morning getting ready for the day and you were in the bathroom or something like that. And then I had just woken up because I was exhausted and went over and noticed that she was choking or coughing. And so I picked her up and then she started to have a flare up like the first time, except this time it felt like it was much worse. And so we called 911 and went through that whole drama and went back to the ER. And it was like that time, I think it was like 8 hours we were there that time.
Yeah, because they didn't have us stay and do a monitoring.
Yeah,
because it had happened.
Because it had happened, and they were like, "Well, we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing, and we think that we're probably going to get the same result as last time. If it happens again, though, then we'll go into some more in-depth tests and that kind of stuff. But they think it's reflux is kind of what the end determination is, and so essentially just keeping her up longer and a bunch of other stuff, but." I don't know. It's been kind of a lot of craziness, ups and downs, trying to figure out how the new dynamic within the family works. And I don't know, probably not exactly what you thought it was going to be, bringing home a new child.
You know what? This one, I think, is exactly not what I was thinking. Because I was thinking like, oh, this is the fourth one. I was so busy before. Well, we're always busy. I was so busy like thinking like, oh, like hold the baby, put the baby down, but never just like laying in bed and snuggling with the baby. And so this one I was like, I'm just going to enjoy those little baby snuggles. This is the last one.
The small moments.
And like, and like enjoy it. I'm going to feel fine afterwards and get back to.
Well, you've been getting a lot of those moments because we've been literally for the past, what, has it been the last week? A little over a week now. So it's been like almost 10 days now of us being up 24/7.
Yeah.
One of us watching her. So burning the candle at midnight. Usually I take the first stay up till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll flip flop. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
been a challenging time.
so the reason we're doing that is because it's just kind of doesn't happen all the time that she chokes. It's just randomly, and there's no way we haven't really been able to find any trigger that triggers it.
Yeah, there's
So it's
not
like, okay, well, if it happens when we're sleeping, we're gonna be sleeping and we won't catch it, and that's terrifying.
yeah, and then there's
to
that thing
about,
of like,
so.
okay, well, what do we do? If your mind goes to like the worst things, and
Right.
you don't want that to ever happen. And so, it's been interesting to go through this time, to say the least. But we're still hanging in here. What are some of the things that you feel like you've been working on since this whole thing? Because I mean, it's funny because we've been trying to get on and record a podcast for, I don't even know, since since she was born, essentially. Like, we were trying and we wanted to, but it just seemed like every time we tried to do it, something would come up. And I think, we were downstairs, and I was cleaning up and taking the trash out and all the other stuff. And I said, well, I thought about doing a podcast tonight, but I'm just tired. And then it was funny because when I came back in, what did you say?
Well, I was like, before when we had mentioned doing a podcast, I was like, oh yes, I can't wait to do that. Then I was thinking, well, I had a thought the other day of like Selah. This whole past year has been 2024 has been like rest and just take it easy, pray. And I had that's this thought of like, okay, Selah's here, rest, pause, think about what was said.
Because that's what her name means.
That's what her name means. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should be not be focusing on working on Nathan's business, my work, our marriage stuff, our podcast. Like, what should we be just resting in this quote maternity leave and
and actually rest and spend time
with each other and with our family, and build our relationships.
Yeah, which is fun.
So.
Do you remember when we right before we were going to the hospital, before you started having all of your contractions, everything, you were like, man, I just want to, like, I should just quit my job and then we'll just do this full time. And like,
I was all in, like,
you
this
were
is
all in,
perfect
like,
because
let's
I'm
just do it.
maternity
Let's
leave.
just
We'll
jump
jump
in.
It's going to be about the new year, so we'll start off on this marriage business and we'll get things going. And I'm ready to get started and work really hard.
How do you feel about that now?
And it's like, nope.
Well,
I can barely and do anything. I can't even do the dishes now.
you can do the dishes.
I can do the
It's
dishes.
just a little
Get
bit more
stuff
challenging.
done.
Well, because you're having to hold her half the time too. But it is interesting though, because with this last season of life, it was all about pausing. It was about resting. It was about spending time with family and just kind of the little moments and those kinds of things. And then at a certain point, you're like, okay, well, I'm ready to get going. Let's hit the gas. Let's floor the gas pedal and get going. And I don't know. It's interesting because as we came off into the new year, 2025, we were kind of talking about this and thinking, okay, well, let's get going. Let's move on to the next thing here. And I don't know. There's kind of this point where I've almost been thinking of like, rather than trying to make things happen, we just need to make things welcome in our life, because it's really easy to want a bunch of different things, especially in the new year. It's even harder to try and make them happen, because everyone wants to make something new happen in their life. I think sometimes we need to take a pause and we just need to allow God to move the puzzle pieces into the right place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've kind of been learning of, is rather than trying to run up, like, because I think we have a lot of opportunity this year. I have opportunity that has kind of set itself in front of me, and there's not something I can do to make that happen any faster. And so at the end of the day, it's this piece of, okay, so what should we be doing right now? What should we be working on? So last year, like one of the big, do you remember our number one goal last year when we were working on stuff for annual planning?
Yeah. We were just working on our marriage.
Yeah. So we had all these things that we wanted to do. We wanted to go to all these different events and different things. And then at the end of the day, we just said, you know what? Number one thing we should be doing right now in this season right now is we should be working on our marriage. And so we spent really the last year focused in on our marriage. And we went to events. We did a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, we kind of came back to this piece of, okay, so what should we be doing for this next year? And we don't normally do a word for the year, but this year we decided that we were going to have a word that we were going to have for the year. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's some couples, especially when they're in like the growth and personal development and planning stages of life, they decide on a word for the year. what's the word that you're going to focus on? So last year for us, it was like marriage. This year, our focus is going to be on another word. And what's that word going to be?
Joy.
Joy. Not happiness. Happiness is fleeting, but joy is something that you can have through all circumstances. Through everything that we're going through in life, we want to have joy. So what is it? I mean, so that's like one of the things that we're kind of focused on this next year. What does it look like to have joy though? Because right now it can be really hard to find joy, especially when we're both sleep deprived and got a lot of stuff going on. You know, there's been stuff with the insurance not taking into effect and money not coming in like it should be, and all kinds of, you know, it just seems like it could be a really stressful season, but we have found some joy within these times. What does it mean to have joy for you right now in this season?
Yeah, I think it just means choosing to just trust in God and let God's peace cover everything that's going on and just see the good and not focus on those other things. Just kind of focus on choosing to see, I hate to say the word joy because that's the word.
I mean, I guess it's not like an official thing, like, right? Because you're not supposed to use the word in the definition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to like choose to see the good be covered in joy, like not happiness, but
it's hard. It's hard to define, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think finding the joy right now in life is looking at the small things and being grateful for the small things that we have.
Exactly.
Spending time with the kids. You know, it's our house perfectly in the right place. Not necessarily. It's pretty much a disaster. It's not as much of a disaster as it used to be. But even just small things of, we could kind of back out of life and say, okay, well, we're not going to see people. We're not going to have people over. And I think we probably had more people over to our house than we have probably in the last year, just even within the last month.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like exactly what you said, focusing on what we're able to do. Focusing on what we're able to do, not what we're not able to do.
Yeah. Oh, I like how you pulled that in, because that was something that we.
Oh, is that where that came from?
That was where that came from. Today we were on a call with some people that are certified. What would they be? Our facilitator,
Marriage,
master marriage mentors. Greg and Judy Gorman, they have a call for their coaches and for their community, and so tonight they were talking about this next year, making it like the best year ever, and one of those things was what you just said.
Focusing on what you can't. What did I say? I can't remember what focusing on what you
don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
Which is good, because right now it feels like we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So when you look at all the things, you're like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do this. Oh man. Well, I might as well just give up on life. And that's when you find yourself in bed eating bonbons and ice cream, disclaimer, yes, we've had ice cream pretty much almost every night that we, at least.
No, not every night.
Not every night. But if we had ice cream though, we ran out of ice cream. That's the only reason that we haven't had ice cream.
Oh yeah, we did run out of ice cream.
And even then it was like we dug through like the chest freezer to find ice cream.
Oh, but you know what? We found vanilla ice cream. So we had vanilla ice cream with cobbler.
Yeah, she made cobbler like last January that she froze. Like it was healthy cobbler too.
It was healthy
wasn't it?
cobbler, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had like sweets galore since this new child came along. But one of those things for us is just finding the joy in the small things. But even more so with what you were just saying is, what are the things that we can actually do right now, and focus on those things versus trying to focus on all the things that we just don't have time for. Like right now, we want to build our business. We want to be able to work with more couples. We want to be able to do more podcasts, create more content. We wanted to write a book for the last year, and we just don't have time right now in the schedule. And so rather than being sad and upset that we don't have the time for those things, we've chosen to actually lean in and focus on what are the things that we can actually do. What are the things that we can work on, like our marriage? I don't know. I think that there are plenty of things that we can't do right now. And at the end of the day, we just have to focus in on one of the things that we actually can do, like spending time with our family, having that one-on-one time with our kids when we have them, and being able to teach them things about the Bible, or even getting to have dinners at night rather than rushing them off to bed because we have to go somewhere the next day, actually slowing down long enough to actually spend some time of like, what is your favorite part of the day? Like we had friends that came over this last Friday, and we did coffees, and they were here for quite a bit of time, which was nice. And and they have 3 girls. And at the end of the day, we went around the table and we asked each of their kids, what was your favorite part of the day? And unanimously, they all said getting to have company over. That was their favorite part of the day. And there's just something about that of focusing on the things that are going on in your life, and the things that you can do can actually create a lot of life for you and your family, right?
Yeah, it even just changes your attitude and your outlook, because when you're moping around, it makes it so much harder.
Really? Moping around makes it harder?
I know, really?
You just want to mope around. And even when things are hard, though, it's easy to settle into, well, it's never going to get better. This is the way it is now. Because I mean, I don't know. Did you think it would be harder or easier to have the fourth kid?
I thought it would be easier.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, seems harder. And everybody kind of said it would be easier, because it's like, oh, it's you have 3, you can have 4, because it's.
Yeah, because I mean, you've been there, you've done that.
Yeah.
The kids kind of start to help, which Rylan has been helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
She's been helping around the house and wanting to help with baby sister and all those things. But because of the complications with her, of just the higher anxiety of wanting her to be safe and those kinds of things, that just brings a new dynamic into the family.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it has been harder just because of that. I think that stress and, or at least for me, fear. And then trying not to have that rub off on anybody else.
Yeah. Have you had anyone ask you? Because I've had a couple of people ask me, like, would you have 4 again? Like, what do you think? Has anyone asked you that?
No one asked me if I would have 4 again. They asked if we're done. That's the last one.
That was really funny, because when we had Rylan, our first child, I feel like everyone kind of knew we were going to have at least 2. And then when we had our second child, I think everyone thought we were done. In fact, all of your cousins and all of your friends were kind of like, "Oh yeah, like you guys are done. Like this is great. Like you can." Yeah, 1 girl, 1 boy, and it was just one of those things where, like, well, in our head, we knew that we were not going to stop at 2. We were going to have at least 3, and it was funny because I still remember we were at we were at some restaurant with your mom, and we had told you that, or told her that we were going to have another one. And she said, "Oh man, you can't have any more kids, because I just can't afford this. I can't afford this many grandchildren." I just remember laughing, but it's interesting, because now where we're at this place of like, where we just got 4, now people, it's more like, okay, so you're going to have more, right? It's kind of like the slippery slope, I guess. Once you hit 4 kids, then you're going to have 10 after that. It's kind of like the homesteading thing, where you start looking at different things, and you're going to have chickens and whatnot, and all of a sudden you have a farm. So I don't know. So we're doing well over here. We're managing with the kids and all that fun stuff. But you know, Willow, I love what she's been kind of taking away. The big thing for me recently has been really making sure that I'm present and I am giving everyone what they need. It's being aware of what each child needs, because for me, it can be really easy to, okay, well, everything should be good, so I'm gonna run off and do this other thing and try and get some stuff done. And at the end of the day, if I'm not careful, it's good to get things done. It's good to be caught up, but at the end of the day, I can easily miss out on opportunities to spend time with the family, making sure everyone gets what they need. So that's kind of been my thing, is slowing down and really just being present with you, being present with the kids. And so, you know, I don't know where you guys are right now in the season of your life. You might be all hunky-dory, no problems. You've got sunshine, which is great. We'll be there at some point, maybe in the next year. It's getting easier, right? But yeah. I think ultimately, for those of you that are in the rough patches right now, where you just are struggling and things are hard, we just want to encourage you, right? That's one of the things of why we do this podcast, is we don't want to be perfect. In fact, this was like one of the podcasts more recently that we just didn't have notes for, because we don't have time. And you might be in a season of your life where you don't feel like you have time. But what is the one thing that you could actually be doing right now that you can do? In fact, I'm curious for you, Willow, before we kind of start wrapping up, when you heard that today and that kind of resonated with you, what's like one of the things that you felt like, well, that is something I actually can do right now, so I want to focus in on do that?
I think I thought about spending time with you and our kids, or And spending time can look like just talking or doing something around the house, since we're not going out too much, or at least all of us are not going out too much. Just with how we can be out. But yeah, making sure that whatever that time looks like is not being grumpy in front of the kids to like be tired, and just to show them no, just to be not grumpy in front of them. And then also when it's our time, just to enjoy our time together that we have. Because I mean, yeah, we're not always going to have this like evenings or time.
Someone's going to have to be
together.
working at some
Someone's
point.
going to be having
Someone's
to go
gonna
back
have to go to work.
and, yeah. So
Yeah, that's really true. Because I think that's kind of hard too, in those moments that we forget that, man, yeah, like it's not always going to be this way. There's going to be moments down the road where we're not going to be able to both be present for everything that's going on with the kids' lives. And that's just part of life, and it's okay. We're not trying to be perfect. Like, as you hear Selah in the background there, who's crying because she's probably got a little bit of an upset tummy. But, we really do love getting on here, getting just to be real with you, be present with you, let you know what's going on in our world. But, at the end of the day, can we just encourage you to focus in on the things that you can do and not get caught up on all the little things that you don't feel like you can get to? Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. That's what's going to move the needle forward. That's what's going to move your family forward, is you have to be in a place where you can focus just on the small things, the small insignificant things, I would even say. Focus on the small things that you feel like, okay, well, I guess that's the only thing that I can do. And start with that. Start with that, and then you'll build upon that. And over the course of the year, things will get better. They will get better. But it does take time, and it takes that first step. So what's the first step that you guys can start focusing on as a couple? In your marriage this year, what can you be working on to improve? Whether that's your communication, like maybe you could actually have dinners together more frequently. Maybe you guys could have lunches together. Maybe you guys could do things as a family. There's a number of different things that you could do, and at the end of the day, you just have to be willing to say, okay, this is what we can do, so let's do it. And I think that's kind of where we kind of want to land this evening. So we really do want to thank you for jumping on and spending some time with us. As you hear in the background there, Willow is tending to the child. Oh yeah, there she is. But
it's like, okay, I need more of your attention.
I need more of your attention right now. So until next time, we want to just remind you to dig into each other, not in a bad way. Dig into each other, love each other, encourage one another. Until next time, remember to be more,
see more,
and experience more together.